So in our last video, we worked with the cone. And now we are on to our final form, which I often feel is the most difficult. And that is the sphere. So you can see here when I was putting the tape on it to help identify the contour lines, it bunches up because you have roundness in all directions. There's not a single flat spot on a sphere. It is perfectly rounded. So we're going to be using a lot of curved lines when it comes to the sphere, and that's why I save it for last, because it's getting the shape of those rounded curved lines for the contour and cross contour of it that can be the most difficult. So again, if you have room on your previous sketchbook page, you may use it. I'm just going to go ahead and go to a new sheet. Now when it comes to working with a sphere, we're going to first start with a simple shape of a circle. It's adding those contour lines that will give the sphere volume. Otherwise, it's just going to stay looking flat like a circle. Now you can either use a compass to draw a circle, or if you have a rounded object like a roll of tape, you can use the inside of the roll of tape. Something rounded, like I have a coaster here, I can trace that. I would say though for this you want a circle to practice this that is probably at least the size of the palm of your hand. I'd say that's probably close to a 3-inch circle in diameter. If you're using a compass and they have the measurements for radius, you want a 1.5-inch radius mark, and if it gives you the measurement mark for a diameter, you want the 3-inch diameter mark. So I'm just going to use this roll of tape, and I'm going to carefully trace that form, or shape I should say, it's not a form yet, so that I have a circle on my paper. Now there is a photo of a sphere on your assignment that you can look at. Right now I am going to look at this one here at my desk, and again it is going to be one that I have to, live with how it places. It's difficult to get it to stand up in one position because being that there is no flat side, it's going to want to roll around. When I work with this, again, this is all going to be curved lines. There is no flatness to it, so I can't come in with all straight lines, because then it doesn't make the surface look rounded like it's supposed to be. What I do when I start a sphere is I do start with a straight line in the middle. This would be a contour line like this piece of tape coming directly at me. Okay, and it's going to look like a straight line. I place that one there. Whether I keep it or not, I haven't decided. But notice the tape on the either side of that first one curves to one way and it curves the other way. After I place this, then it's kind of like the cone, and then I want to start where this first line started, but I'm going to curve out away from it and come back to the bottom. And if you've ever seen a globe, this is basically drawing the lines we see on the globe. So I'm going to again start at the top there, curve away from it, the line, and come back and converge at the bottom. So however many I can fit in there, and it doesn't hurt that they get closer together. That helps with the illusion of the roundness. I'm going to sketch that out in one direction, and then I'm going to sketch it out in the other direction. Again, starting at the top, converging to the bottom, making round lines. So those rounded lines help with the illusion of the roundness of the surface. It's telling the viewer that sees these contour lines here that if I touch my finger to it, it's going to move over in a rounded form. Now I can come across, and I can do the same thing in this direction. I can start and give myself a guidance point in the middle, and again bow these lines out to either side, converging at that same point each time where I started that first middle line till I run out of room, and the same thing on the opposite side of it. And I'd end up with something like that. So again, it makes the sphere look rounded. So I've turned that circle into a sphere. The reason why I have you do a smaller circle is because you can do this several different ways, and I would like you to try it out a couple different times, because when it comes to working with more organic forms, you're going to find that those lines we find in it, whether they're slightly flat surface, a rounded surface, they can move in multiple directions. So I could also create lines like this on my sphere, kind of like wrapping around a oval at the top, and work my way down the sphere this way to show the roundness. So that's a possibility to create roundness on my sphere. And again, that does need some work. So it'd be like if I just came in here, kind of like what I have here, and just traced around it, going down the sphere at different levels, similar to the cylinder. Usually if I do something like this, then I don't cross over it like this, where I'd start with another oval and then cross over it this way, though. You know, that's the purpose of this, is to experiment to see what that would look like. So if I did cross over it for my cross contour with the same type of idea, still looks rounded, so that would work. It's the first time I ever tried it, and I actually kind of like it. So again, the idea is to show that it's a sphere, that it's rounded on all of its surface. I have to use curved lines. So I'm just going to come in and darken these up a little bit. Just like that. So again, the curved lines help with the roundness of the sphere. So do at least 2 spheres for this assignment in which you show that rounded surface. That is all of our forms, starting from the most simplest, using nothing but straight lines to show the flat sides of a cube, adding some curve surface to that by working with a cylinder in which 2 ends of it are flat. You have a tall vertical flat like side movement, and then you have a curved wraparound to the object, to the cone, where again we have one very flat side, which is the base of the cone. The sides of the cone stand up, but they are no longer vertical, they come to a point. And again, if I move my finger from base to that point, it's still a flat surface, but it slants in. And of course, working my way with my touch of the surface around it will be represented with that rounded line to show that it curves around that surface. And then finally finishing up with two sphere ideas to show the curved nature of the sphere, the roundness of the surface. There's no place on here in which I move my finger that I'm ever going to have the feeling of flatness. It's always going to have a curved surface to it. And that's what we want to represent when we go in and create these contour and cross contour lines on our objects.